I just want to wait till it actually comes up and I'll shut it. And then we'll start. My internet is messing with me right now. Isn't that nice? Can you guys tell if it's streaming? Can anybody tell if it's streaming on live on YouTube yet? Because right now I'm in.
My computer says live on YouTube.
It says that it is.
Okay. So I just don't want to close it and cut it off. All right. There we go. Okay. Good. Let me shut this. Okay. Okay. So let me get the agenda up. Where'd my agenda go? Here it is. Share. Okay. Okay, so we will call a meeting to order, 7:31. So pursuant to New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the board office, the schools, and on Cablevision Channel 118 and Verizon Fios Channel 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. The board will take formal action on payment of bills and other agenda items. Mr. Mara.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided that that act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered a private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Hi, roll call, Mr. Mara.
Ms. Burns?
Here.
Ms. Callie?
Here.
Mr. DePrima?
Yeah.
Mr. Dunn? Ms. Ellis Foster?
Here.
Mr. Giordano?
Here.
Mr. Solikowski?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Ms. DeCaro?
Here.
Quorum exists.
Okay, now we have to see the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me just get that screen up. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry, I'm very slow today. Okay, if we can all stand for the pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So moving on, we have, we're going to be having a moment of silence next week. Dr. Brennan. Okay. Code of ethics. Anybody want to call that?
Do it.
Kelly?
All
Okay.
right. All right.
There you go. Okay, and okay, we'll have the approval of the minutes. Everyone will go over that. And we'll have the report from our student representative, Mr. Rita. He will join us next week, not this week. Recognition. Will we have any recognition, Mr. Cittadino?
I don't believe we have any for this month at this time.
Okay. And then we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Tui, you had something?
Yeah, I'll just start off, and then I'll
Okay.
get Dr. Tui and Mr. Domino will be doing a kind of little bit of progress towards goals. But I just want to address the board and the public that next week's meeting and leading into next week, the district will be coming out with some information related to the expansion of our reentry model for to schools. The task force met this week. We looked at several of the plans that we've had in place since the beginning of school that bring us to eventually returning to 5 days a week. We looked at each of those components of those plans and kind of like picked apart which recommendations would be best based upon the conditions that we have now and conditions that we foresee in the future. Obviously, the vaccination is a game changer that wasn't available when we initially put the plan together in August. So having that in place with the premise that every educator or who works in the schools, anyone working in schools will get their first shot before the end of March, or have 2 shots depending on the vaccination they're using before May 1st is, a game changer in schools and as we combat this COVID virus. So that information will be coming out next week. Also with that information will be information in regards to guidelines for snacks in school at elementary level as we're progressing towards warmer weather. Today was a nice, introduction into spring-like weather for all of us. We anticipate that our students will be doing more activities outside, taking mask breaks outside, and opportunity at that point to take a mask break, water break, snack break at the elementary level as we do so. So that information will be coming to the public next week. At this point, I would like to have Dr. Tui take over and talk to us about some exciting changes will be impacting Old Bridge Township schools in the coming year.
Thank you, Mr. Zeno, and thank you everybody for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. For those of you who were able to join us for the curriculum meeting last Thursday, this will be a general summary of some of the highlights that we talked about last Thursday at the Curriculum and Special Services Committee meeting. The presentation tonight is going to be truncated to go over the highlights of what was discussed last week. And then Mr. Domino, I am the appetizer, he is the entree. We'll be going over some of the changes we're looking for the remaining part of the year, specifically for the athletic department. So very exciting stuff going into next year. I don't know if the video, oh, perfect,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Just for the public's knowledge, there is a lengthier, more detailed presentation on the district website outlining these proposed changes for the 21-22 school year. So if you're looking for any additional details, there are more in-depth slides that are available on the district website, and you can go and review this. Again, this is a Cliff Notes version of the presentation that was provided during the curriculum meeting last Thursday.
Dr. Tui, we're not
Yeah,
seeing anything.
I don't see anything either.
Yeah, I don't know what, I lost my entire, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I lost my entire, I can't see you. I'm looking at my computer. I don't, okay, let's see. I am clearly not the technological whiz that I need to be. I have no idea what's going on right now.
So I have the presentation up. If someone would like to make me the host, just to
Go ahead.
continue
Good
with
idea.
the
Jill, you have to do that. Mr. Carroll, you have to make him the host.
I
Is it
can't see
easier
my
for
screen.
you- Jim, is Dr. Tui, is it easier for you to do it yourself or to have someone else do it? Because I have it up also.
I could do it. It's no problem. I just need to have the host capabilities, and then I'll work through Mr. Domino's part of the presentation, and we'll turn it back over to.
All right, you are the co-host now, Mr. Dr. Tui. You should be able to share.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay,
What's up? Good.
There you go.
Slideshow.
Got it.
We can start. Okay, very good. Good evening, everybody. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Again, this is going to be a general overview of what we had talked about previously at the curriculum and special service meeting that was held last Thursday. A more in-depth description of this presentation is available online on the district website. But some of the highlights that we are proposing on the curriculum side for the 21-22 school year. And the major component of the presentation tonight that you'll be seeing is the block scheduling on the secondary level, specifically for middle school and high school. Additionally, again, these topics are addressed on the presentation located on the Old Bridge Board of Education website. We are looking to slightly adjust the high school grading policy. We're looking to propose a virtual high school for the 21-22 school year. We are looking to adjust elementary report cards to move towards a standards-based report card, and also trimesters and review of all the elementary schedules going into the upcoming school year. Again, all of those details we're not going to cover tonight because it would be too lengthy, but they are available online, and everyone is able to email me if there's any questions or concerns. And the overview of the entire presentation is on the district website. So this call for block scheduling has now been, for those of you who have been around since 2005, there's been discussion about going to a block schedule at the high school. I know that in 2015, there was a proposal for the middle school movement to a block schedule. And across really the secondary level, the block schedule does have numerous advantages for all of the students and staff throughout the district. It does provide increased daily instructional time per teaching period to ensure sufficient time for curriculum implementation. It provides more opportunity for technology integration, especially now as we are a district that is one-to-one with our HP streams. While it is beneficial now that the students are in a hybrid model, those students will be coming back to a full-time schedule at some point and will need an opportunity to integrate those streams and also Microsoft Teams into the day-to-day activity that they have and the instruction that we have on the secondary level. More instructional time allows for group-based 21st century learning goals, as well as advances in our career and technical education programs like hospitality, woodshop, automotive, and elective courses as well. It consolidates passing time within the hallways, allows teachers, in many cases, more planning time within their schedule to enhance their lessons and provides college-like instruction. It allows students less stress, where they would have approximately 4 periods a day, and you'll see that example as you move forward. Allows for more individualized educational opportunities. Outlines a clear opportunity for option 2 at the secondary level within the phys ed department, and does revamp some of our middle school scheduling issues that we've had over the past few years. So the 2 models you're going to see tonight, the first one is the Old Bridge AB block model. So in the Old Bridge AB block model, the students are going to be on an A-day, B-day schedule, and you're going to see a student schedule next. They will have between 88 and 86-minute periods. There will be 4 blocks per day. The start time for the high school and the end time for the high school does not change. So the first period is 88 minutes. That would include homeroom and announcements. The remaining block 2, 3, and 4 would be 86-minute blocks. And during block 3, the students would have one of 3 lunches, either A lunch, B lunch, or C lunch. If the student in block 3 had an A lunch, they would go to block 1 and 2, go to their lunch, block 3 and 4, and then end their day. If the student was in a B lunch, they would go to block 1, 2, report to block 3, then proceed to their lunch and go back to block 3 to end up that third block and then proceed to the fourth block. And then for the third lunch or lunch C, the student would go from block 1, 2, and 3, finish block 3, go to lunch, and then continue with their day in block 4. So what would a standard student schedule look like? Because they're, again, 88-minute periods, you're basically having 4 periods per day. So a standard high school student in an A-B schedule, if, for example, in 1 week, it would be A, where Monday, Wednesday, Friday would be A days, and Tuesday, Thursdays would be B days. A student would have their math, science, personal finance or elective, and physical education. Again, this is just a sample schedule on one day. So they would only have 4 periods per day. And then on a B day, they would have their English, social studies, another elective, and world language. Again, this is going to be contingent on their exact schedule, and each class is going to be tweaked a little bit. So when we talk about a class like cosmetology periods are going to be right now tentatively scheduled either on one day, where they would have blocks 1 through 3, or they would be across 2 different days. Our AP courses would continue to be a double block period where you would have AP courses on A day and B day. But overall, the structure of the core components of the high school will not change. Students will have access to 8 periods. Students will have access to all the high-level courses that they need to be successful in their post-high school careers. And students who might struggle a little bit will still have access to all of the supports, whether through a 504, an IEP, or as an English language learner that they would have normally. So the structural components of the Old Bridge High School schedule will remain virtually intact, and students will continue to have their 8 periods. They will have 160 credits over 4 years, and the graduation requirements would obviously remain the same. Please note, and again, this is a large asterisk, that all proposals are subject to change as we continue to have discussions with the OBA around certain contingencies within the OBA contract and language set forth within those. Middle school scheduling. So middle school schedules, again, similar to that of the high school. We are looking to extend the middle school schedules from what is currently a 45-minute period of time to a 75-minute period of time. The top goals for middle school block scheduling include the following. Number 1, additional math time. In the elementary schools, the students have 86 minutes of math. They move to the middle school, they go from 86 to 45 minutes. And then they move from 45 minutes through to the high school, which we be at this point at 41 minutes. So our main crux of the goal as we transition from a 45-minute period, 8-period day at the middle school level to a 75-minute period day is to increase the total number of math time that students will have on a daily basis. Our second goal is to maintain the RTI program, specifically Tier 2. We'll get into that example in a minute. Overall, we're looking for longer periods to integrate technology and project-based learning, similar to that of the high school. We're reducing the overall number of transitions in the hallway, addressing the lunch schedule, and trying to find time for additional courses, including instrumental music.
I got a meeting going on. Okay, you know.
So the proposed middle school AB block would be as follows. Again, they would be on an A day, B day schedule, where a student would have 4 blocks per day at approximately 75 minutes. There would be 3 minutes of passing time between each block. We would continue the AM and PM homeroom, which is currently in the middle school schedule. The end of the day remains the same, but the start of the day would be 5 minutes later from 8:05 until 8:10. All teachers would instruct 3 blocks per day for a total of 225 minutes with no change in the current contractual language. There would also be a math and ELA teacher scheduled with the same groups of students on A day and B day. And we'll provide just a general example of that in a minute. Science, social studies, and PE and related arts teachers would instruct 3 different blocks on A day and B day. The teachers right now, and again, based on current contractual language, would receive 45-minute lunch during their off block. This is something we are reviewing with the OBA and considering to truncate some of that time to ensure that the staff receives an appropriate length of lunch. In addition, the prep time as outlined to ensure that they are able to prepare for their classes in the best possible way. So the proposed middle school schedule, and again, this is for a middle school student, grades 6 through 8. Each student would have 75 minutes a day of math. So overall, that's a 30-minute increase in math. So they would have a math on an A day and a B day. They would also have English on A day and B day. So the students would have both English and math every day during the course of the school year. For the middle school science and social studies, those students would have science or social studies every other day. Same thing with physical education and world language and related arts. So math and English right now currently is a double period of English in the middle school. Both math and English would be a double period every day for approximately 75 minutes. Science and social studies would alternate. Physical education and world language would also alternate. The lunches remain the same as they do in the high school. There would be an A lunch, a B lunch, and a C lunch. And depending on what lunch that student was assigned, they would either go to block 1 and 2 and then lunch, or block 1, 2, and 3, and then go to lunch prior to block 4. And then you have that middle lunch, lunch B, where the student would go to their third block, then go to lunch, and then go back to their third block for the remaining part of the day. And there is an AM and PM homeroom on either side of this middle school proposed schedule. Some of the advantages in this middle school proposed schedule include increasing math time by about 30 minutes per day. It does maintain the double period of ELA, albeit 15 minutes less of ELA per day. That doesn't have a significant impact on the total number of overall ELA teachers at both buildings. The RTI program will be scheduled during related arts and world language as it currently is, and will run a half period. So it will be a 37-minute period of RTI as opposed to a 75-minute period. It would improve instructional time during the day to integrate the technology, as we mentioned before. It would allow for students to have fewer subjects during the class day to explore in terms of the number of materials they would bring on a day-to-day basis. And the total number of classes that teachers and students must prepare for on a daily basis would be significantly less. There would also be some flexibility within the schedule for additional courses like instrumental music, band, and peer. And those are areas that we're looking to expand potentially at the end of the day with a block 5. As we continue to build out this schedule, our goal will be to provide more concrete information on those specific elective-based classes for the middle school students. Again, please note all proposals are subject to change and our continued discussions with the OBEA. I do want to highlight that for everybody. So the timeline as of right now, in February of 2021, we're able to present this to the curriculum committee. We did answer some of the questions that were addressed at that time, and the questions concerning option 2 or some of the other core elements of the overall presentation were able to be addressed between now and then. We are looking at necessary staffing and scheduling issues as we continue through February. Obviously, today is a presentation to the Board of Ed at an agenda meeting to provide an overview of what the proposals will be. If the proposals are agreed upon for March of 2021, we will begin developing professional development for the school years of the 2021-22, 22-23, and 23-24. Obviously, it is a big jump to move from either a 41 or a 45-minute period to a 75 or 86-minute period. But overall, we want to prepare our staff as best we can for the professional development necessary to ensure that the students and staff will meet with success with these new models. As we have proposed this to the board, and again, a much more detailed presentation is available on the district website if you want to take a look at that. I can also email that to you, to the board members, if you do have any questions, and please feel free to reach out to me at any time concerning any of these proposals. But this would be our timeline through the remaining part of the 2020-2021 school year with additional activities, including the professional development necessary moving forward. The entree is over. Does anyone have any questions? Appetizer's over, I'm sorry.
I don't have any questions, Dr. Tui. I know you did answer the ones we had, but I will just use the opportunity to thank everybody involved in this. I know these are things we've been talking about for a number of years. And even in a time where balancing, keeping, a remote learning, keeping everything going, finding ways that we continue to improve and, make education better is, commendable. So I just, thank everybody on this. I think it's things that we've been waiting to do. It's going to improve education. It's going to improve for the kids. It's just, I think, a great program that we can finally implement. So thank you.
And again, this is many years of work, and I have to give credit to Dr. Sasso, Mr. Rezes, Mr. Dolan, Ms. Fazio, Ms. Tevold, the administrative team at the high school. They have done an excellent job, as well as the middle school, to really put this plan into fruition. So many hands make light work, and that was the situation in this particular presentation. And again, if anyone has any questions, I know that we went over this quickly. Please let me know, and I will try and get back to you as quickly as possible. Can I turn over to Mr. Domino? Ready to go?
Yes, thanks, Jim. Thank you for handling that. And I'm sure the work is not light as you're making it to be. You did a great job with that. Thank you. Mr. Domino, something else that hasn't really been on the drawing board for as long as we've been talking about block scheduling, but baseball's been around a lot longer than that. So we've talked about this at a athletics meeting. We talked a little bit about a finance meeting, and now that we've had an opportunity to take a look at where we stand financially with athletics, as some of the programs that we've had this year have been modified and travel has been modified because of COVID. We're at the opportunity that might be a little unique this year. So if you want to take us through this proposal that you have. Thank you, Mr. Domino.
Yes, good evening. Just talking about middle school baseball and adding it for this upcoming spring season, the benefits for having a middle school baseball program. We have multiple feeder systems for all of our other middle school sports, having one for baseball as well. Learning the program in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and moving into the high school would be huge for us as a baseball program, keeping the student athletes from jumping over to private schools. You have our head coach and assistant coaches going down to the middle school, helping out, building those relationships, and the earlier than just in freshman year. You get to talk to them and build the program from 6th grade on, and more after school activities. After the year that we've had this year, having more outdoor activities for camaraderie for these kids would be a huge benefit for us. Just talking about Title IX and balancing male and female sports. As of right now at the middle school, we have 9 female sports compared to 7 male sports. So adding baseball would make it a little bit more even, 9-8. The cost for the 2021 this year would be 2 coaching stipends, a maximum of about $13,000. After reviewing the budget with Mr. Mara this week, there is a surplus of about $15,000 of unspent, which we'll have additional clause for. And then future costs and beyond, it would be 2 coaching stipends and transportation to local away games, roughly about 6 away games for Sauk and 6 away games for Sandburg.
Thank you for that proposal, Mr. Domino. Do any board members want to weigh in or have any questions or concerns about this? Just, before we go forward, we'll probably have to do a straw poll just to get the approval from the board, so that Mr. Domino can start planning and putting stuff in the agenda that we'll need.
What about the,
I have a question. So what do you think the benefits are of having a middle school baseball team versus all of the other baseball teams that are already around town? I know that I can think of a few off the top of my head. What would make this, I don't know if I want to use the word special, but.
Right. It's just the communication and the trickle down from the high school coaches. It's a great opportunity for all my other sports. You think of basketball, where you have your head coach that's going down to the middle school and able to talk to these athletes and kind of put in the system that he wants from 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And then by the time they get to the high school level, they're prepared for high school athletics. It's a little more difficult with the head coach going out to the local little leagues and trying to go over what their future is and what his future is for the athletes, because they have different visions. At our middle school, our head coach can go down to the middle school and have his vision and show these kids what they need to do to be prepared for the high school. And again, having those relationships where these student athletes aren't going to the private schools and they're staying right here in Old Bridge.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, please.
I have
Yes.
a couple of questions.
Mrs. Domino.
Yes, Mr. Brandon.
This is stretching it, but as a baseball fan, I'm a Met fan. If the Mets third baseman breaks his leg and they have nobody else, they call the farm system and pull somebody up. Is that allowed in school sports?
No, a middle school athlete can't be pulled up to the high school level. However, though, we have ideas, Coach Donahue and I, where we would love to have the middle school athletes coming to the high school games and watching them and having that camaraderie of it like a farm system. I mean, I think that's a great kind of way you're looking at it, and just having it as one big program and them looking at the facility that we have and being able to say, wow, one day I would love to be able to, be on this mound and pitch for Old Bridge.
And also, are we starting this later than we had anticipated?
No, we're right on track for this year. There were, movement of the start dates for everything just because of COVID and what we're going through, but we'll be right on target with baseball.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Danino.
Yes.
What about the ancillary cost for uniforms and equipment? You didn't mention that.
Yeah, so in my budget, I'm able to allocate enough for the uniforms, for helmets and bats and baseballs and things like that. We wouldn't have a problem with that.
All right, so you'll stay within that $15,000.
It would be coming out of just our regular athletic fund, everything. Yeah, we wouldn't be going over on anything.
All right, and years back, I was the president of the boys soccer league and the girls soccer league. It was more of a problem in the boys league because a lot of the travel programs in soccer were frustrated with conflicts of games and practices. Now, when will most of these games be played? They'll be played after school?
Correct. Well, most of the times with our permits that we get at the field, we're only allowed to play until about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night because of local travel teams and men's leagues that go on the field after us. So it's almost if they are playing in another little league afterwards, it's probably after us we're on the field. Mm-hmm. So it would work out.
Would you also be generally staying away from weekend games, which is when you have the biggest conflict with the little league?
Correct. Middle school, this year that we're doing a little bit more of the weekend just because of time and scrunching the season together, but we really very rarely do anything on the weekends. If anything, we would be inviting the middle school to our high school baseball games for them to watch and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have Mr. Domino.
Hey.
Just a clarification, well, actually two. And I believe we talked about this, but I can't remember. Young girls can try out for the boys team, or are they just only softball? But if we have a young woman who would prefer to do baseball versus softball, she has that opportunity.
Yeah, they still have the opportunity for baseball. It's considered a male sport that a female can try out for. So it's still under the criteria of a male sport, similar to wrestling, where a wrestler, it's under the male category, but a female can wrestle.
Cool. And then for next year, because I know we've already gotten a draft budget, did you put this already in for next year, or is that something you still need to add to the budget or adjust, or you think you can still do it with whatever you've already asked for?
Correct. I believe we will be able to still do this moving forward with the budget that we have.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Anybody else? No?
Now, this is not an action item, but just Mr. Mara, is there a way you could do a straw poll on that?
Yeah, I can do a straw poll for the.
Just because usually if we're all sitting together, I could see everyone just raise their hand or so, but online it's a little more difficult. Just in support of initiating the middle school male baseball team for the 2021 season.
Okay, Ms. Callie, do you support? Ms. Callie?
Yes.
Mr. DePrima?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes.
Mr. Silikowski?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Straw poll is to move forward.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for that communication. Mr. Domino, talk to us about Mr. Cole, please.
Yeah, so the last thing I wanted to bring up is we've never really named the baseball field. It's always just the baseball field. Everyone knows Lombardi football field, and something that I would love to propose is to name our baseball field after our former coach and teacher, Mr. Fred Cole. He's taught in Old Bridge district for 39 years. He's coached baseball in this district for 44 years. He's been awarded so many great honors. The NJSAA Coaches Hall of Fame was the most recent, which was this year. He's a Union County Hall of Famer, and also in the Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame. Coach he's coached since Madison Central. He's been a varsity coach 1970 to 77. You can see a lot of the accolades that he's won team-wise from the 1980s to 93 with Madison Central, division championships. He was coach of the year in 1989. And then obviously when it turned over to Old Bridge High School, Coach Cole has been the head coach until 2004. He's been volunteering ever since with us. And again, along the way, multiple championships, semifinal appearances at the state level, and division champions. His overall record is 561 wins. It's just a remarkable amount of wins. He's coached 3,000 plus student athletes throughout his time in Madison and Old Bridge High School. And another thing that I think is great is that our entire coaching staff has been coached under Coach Cole as well. So all the attributes and the way our baseball coaching staff and our athletes handle themselves on and off the field, it really comes from Coach Cole. And then just the last thing, Coach Cole is Old Bridge. He's a guy that just is all about his athletes and on and off the field and making them and developing them into young men to succeed in all aspects. He loves Old Bridge. He is always around, going to other events as well because he just loves cheering on his athletes. In my mind, there's just no other person deserving of this honor of a field. He is just an incredible man that I look up to as well. And I just can't see a better fit for a baseball field if we could, name it Coach Cole Field this year.
So thank you very much, Mr. Domino. And I think this, a few years back, it was brought to the board. Something similar, we did the Gebauer Fieldhouse for another legacy type of coach within track and field. I know that next week we'll honor in memoriam Mr. Mike Millman, who is also a tremendous teacher and forever substitute and coach in the district as well. But tonight we're looking at Fred Cole and naming the baseball facility after him. I would like to, again, ask this panel of board members if they'd like any comment or questions about this proposed recognition before moving forward, and then ask Mr. Mara to look for a straw poll vote for support amongst our board members.
I haven't had the opportunity of meeting Mr. Cole personally.
Sal, we have to get you a new microphone.
It has to do with the ear headphones. I don't know. I'm saying I didn't have the opportunity of meeting Mr. Cole personally, but as the chair of athletics, I've heard that he is pretty much royalty in the baseball world of Old Bridge. So that's all I wanted to say.
Anybody else?
I worked with Mr. Cole, and you totally have my support. Okay, he deserves this award. Thank you very much. I knew him for very many years.
He's a great man.
He was a good man, yes.
I can think of no reason why this wouldn't be something we could move forward with. So I think, I think it's a great thing. Mr. Weber, you have your hand up, but you're muted, Frank.
And my microphone muted, so that's why I wasn't too effective. But in any event, I've been around since '86, and my kids were in high school during that time. Mr. Cole has been an extraordinary coach and an extraordinary person. I wholeheartedly support him.
Thank you.
Can't beat that resume.
I couldn't agree more.
Seriously.
When I was the high school principal, I hadn't met him yet. He came over to me and introduced himself like we'd known each other for years. Very genuine, great guy. So if there's no other comments, I would ask Mr. Mara to do a straw poll for support.
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima, Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yeah.
Mr.
Yes.
Solakowski,
Yes, produce a plaque. Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
and Mr. Carroll.
Yes, absolutely.
Straw poll is yes.
Thank you, everyone, for your support. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful,
Well-
and thank you. We'll make sure that when the process is completed with a suitable ceremony, that the board members and the public are invited to such a ceremony.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Mr. Cittadino, to speak of today?
Not at this point. It's very busy first 2 weeks, first 2 days of this week. And we have a lot of good things to look forward to, and a lot of information for next week's meeting as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, first of all, I apologize for my internet issues earlier, and I'm glad you guys can all carry on without me, as if you didn't need me. But anyway, so Mr. Mayor, if you can make me host again so I could share my screen and share the agenda.
Mr. Carroll, you are the host.
Great, thank you. So I'll put that back up. And there we are. Okay. Okay. So can you all see the screen now? Yes? Okay. All right, so will there be any correspondence, Mr. Mayor, next week?
There is no correspondence as of today.
Okie dokie. And are we going to have any special committee reports? Ms. Callie, did you?
Yeah, I think that Dr. Hoker and I will have a report on the combined community relation meeting combined with the positivity committee.
Okay, and I think there was a curriculum meeting, correct? I
Yes,
couldn't make
Dr.
it.
Tui gave it tonight, but if he wants to present it next week again, he can. Because I couldn't do
That's
it.
true. That's true. Good point. Sorry about that.
Mr. Caro,
Yes.
just as part of the Community Relations Committee, I'd like to just give a shout out that tonight we had Heirloom Kitchen in Old Bridge hosted an event where we had over 50 participants working with Chef David Viana. They all cooked together. I was able to get on the Zoom for a few minutes before the board meeting started, but if I'm saying it correctly, they made nutty pasta. I believe I'm saying that correctly, but I saw some of the meals and they looked fantastic. Lots of couples and students, staff and parents all involved. And tomorrow night we have Effective School Solutions that is hosting Caring for the Caregiver, which is a workshop for parents from 6:30 to 7:30. Youth Art Month is continued through March 15th, where students have the opportunity to post various art assignments using Flipgrid. All of these are on the district website. Many just scrolling right across the front page. They're easily found. And I will give another shout out for night school that is continuing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings. And then next week we'll give a full update, but since those events were coming up right away, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're going to be opening it up now to the hearing of the residents. I don't think I know. On agenda items only. So let me just put hold on. Let me just put that up and I'll share that screen. And if anyone has any comments or questions or concerns on agenda items only, the time is now. Let me just see. So you can just raise your hand if you're in the, if you're on the Zoom call, if you're on the phone, *9, and then when you're announced, it's *6. So I'm not seeing any hands raised right now. Oh, I see one hand. Hold on. Okay, Kristen Valenzola, I'm going to unmute you. Please say your name again when you unmute yourself, and the floor is yours. Kristen? There you
Hi,
go.
hi.
Hi.
I'm Kristen Valenzola. My daughter goes to Jonas Salk Middle School. I wanted to take one moment and just commend the fact that you're thinking that you're proposing that Fred Cole, the baseball field, get dedicated to him. He was my gym teacher when I was in carpenter school, and although I was never on his baseball team, I couldn't think of a more fitting tribute to that man. He is tremendous, and I hope his alumni will get contacted so that they can come to that ceremony, because he really is truly fitting. And I also wanted to thank the Positivity Committee, Community Relations Committee. My daughter's having a blast on that committee, so I just wanted to thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? I don't see any other hands raised. So I am going to close the hearing of the residents portion. And so let me just stop sharing that and go back to my agenda. Okay. Okay, so gotta share it. Hold on. Okay. All right, so moving on. Policy, nothing for policy. Curriculum. Anybody have any question about the curriculum? Nothing. Okay, moving on to athletics. Any question about athletics? We have the athletic expert here to answer if there are any questions. Lots of coaching. Okay, moving on to finance. We have an action item here. So I'm going to ask for a motion for item number 1 in finance.
Callie will move.
Okay, Ms. Callie, can I have a second?
Burns will second.
Burns, any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Roll call, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
You're muted, Mr. Weber.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Okay, and we have, anybody have any questions with items 2 through, where are we? You'll be talking about the budget next week, or are you gonna?
Next one.
Okay, so we'll have that budget presentation next week. Does anybody have any other questions regarding anything under finance? Okay. Non-certificated personnel, office, non-certificated personnel operational, any questions, concerns? Okay, now we are on to personnel other. Any questions, concerns? I'll scroll slowly on through, well, a little fast. Where am I? I don't know if you guys notice, I tend to talk to myself when I'm doing these things, so I apologize. Okay, we're on certificated personnel, and we have an action item. So if I can have a motion to move item number 1 in certificated personnel.
I'll move it.
Ms. Ellis Foster, can I have a second?
Sally will second.
Ms. Callie, okay, any discussion on certificated personnel item number 1? No. Can I have a roll call, Mr. Mara?
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll. Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Okay, anybody have any questions about the rest of the, certificated personnel items 2 through, where are we?
I do, and I don't know if Dr. Hoker can just shed a little light on, I know we have some programs going on using some of the CARES money. I don't know if you could just explain that a little bit.
So the motion's
That's
on
item
here.
15, correct?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Yeah, there's
Mhm.
like, yeah, a couple
I
of them.
believe they start with number 9
Number 9.
and go through. These are for the elementary and middle school programs for additional assistance for students. They are before and after school programs, depending on the school, funded through CARES. We are utilizing this time to assist students. And again, it's approximately 4 days per week for 6 weeks. And in 4 days per week for approximately 6 weeks to offer students additional assistance as we return to school.
And will there be information out on how parents can, or how we're, kind of bring it up? I know, because I know previously we did talk for those children who might, have regressed a little bit or anything, how this can help them. And so would that be going out after next week?
It will be going out, I believe. They already started sending that information out to the teachers, and they are using a rubric to help identify students who are in need of services. And it would be offered to all students based on the rubric.
Great, thank you.
Dr. Hoker, I have a question. Do we have
Yes.
any anticipated idea of how many children will be participating in this program? And/or is the amount of money a strictly defined amount, as opposed to if we put it, 300 kids, they will cover all the costs for all of them?
The amount of money is defined, and it is based upon the number of staff that we employed within each building. I believe that there is some flexibility in the number of students that we can take dependent upon the number of staff in the buildings that are available.
Thank you.
Mhm.
As of right now, the number is slightly over 500 who were initially identified as part of the rubric process.
And this program is in person, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And if we had students that were strictly remote, we have an option to assist those students as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
It's 500 plus right now, but it can get the possibility of more students, correct? If they apply? Is that what you said, or?
It's approximately 500
No, it's-
students identified through the rubric process as
Oh, okay.
needing the assistance.
Got it.
And
Okay.
whether all of those students will participate or not, we don't know yet.
I understand. I understand. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions regarding the CARES before, after program or anything else? Okay. There's nothing under transportation, supplies and equipment and services. There would be nothing that we know of?
I would just like to advise the board that next week, and this is due to the late receipt of proposals from the competitive contracting that we did for the the company that provides the fiber connections to all of our buildings throughout the district. We will be awarding that next week to Crown Castle. They're the existing vendor who's been with us for 5 years that did the initial install of the fiber to all the buildings. And we're presently paying about $86,000 a year. Under the new proposal, we'll be paying about $80,000 a year. And also, we will be renewing our contract with Altice for internet service. We're presently paying $6,700 a month. We will be renewing that at $4,429 a month, and we are increasing the bandwidth in a number of our buildings. So those two items, which don't appear here due to lateness of receipt, will be on the agenda next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Joe, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you said 60, we were paying LT 6,700 and what's the new number?
$4,429.
4429. Okay, thank you.
That's why I said he's doing a great job. He's really,
Yes,
he's pulling it off.
he's very good at what he does. 4429. Okay. Okay, so that will be next week. Transportation, any questions about transportation? No. And then there's miscellaneous. Are the committee attendees correct? Has anybody had a chance to look at that? Everybody's name is where it should be.
I just have there's no date on the personnel.
Yes, Mrs. Torrey did ask me for that date and I have to get that to her.
I don't remember.
Okay.
either.
I actually have to look. I'm not sure we had one in February. So that's what held me up. I will double check if we had one in February or it was just late January.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, so that will be added in for next week. Fire drills. Anything else? Board secretary and board business. Will you have anything? Well, Mr. Mara?
No, we will not have it. Nothing is planned as of yet.
All righty. So now we are on to hearing of the residents for any school district issue. I'm going to stop sharing that screen and I will just put up the public comment screen. Hold on. All right, and I will open the floor to anyone. Raise your hand if you have anything on any school district item at all? Just raise your hand in chat. On the phone, select *9 and *6 when you're selected. I see no hands. Okay. Nothing. We have nothing for hearing of the residents. Okay. There we have one. All right. Your phone number is 8411. I'm going to ask you to unmute and please identify yourself. (8411), please unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you identify
Thanks.
yourself, please?
Yep, my name is Joe Beggendorf, 388 Morristown Road.
Okay.
I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to make a couple of comments. Going back to the last meeting that we had, I think it was a few weeks ago, something, Mr. Carroll, that you actually said, I think in your closing remarks from the last meeting that kind of resonated with me. And one of the things that you had said, and I'm paraphrasing, not a quote, but you had mentioned that the kids are still getting an education, even with everything that's still going on. You know, I kind of think that with the current state of the education system in this district, you know, I think that statement is like telling somebody who's paying for a Mercedes but received a Honda should be satisfied because you still got a car. You know, I think that comment was very tone deaf. You know, with all the statistics that we're seeing, you know, kids are failing more than ever. Mental health issues have skyrocketed. You know, kids are coming home starving because they're not even allowed to have a snack at school, you know, but they're still quote unquote getting an education, you know, and I think not to mention the stress that's on the teachers, you know, with this hybrid system and having to focus on 2 sets of kids that they have to teach to every single day, you know, obviously outside of Wednesdays. You know, they're focusing on the kids in school, but also trying to focus on the kids on the computer. And yeah, I think most of the focus is going on the kids on the computer because I think for most classes, that's probably where more of the kids are, you know, learning on any given day. You know, God bless the teachers and their patience. You know, I see it with my son's teacher. You know, she has the patience of a saint and should be given a raise. You know, I think it's a horrible hand that they were dealt on trying to navigate 2 sets of kids that they have to teach you every single day, and you know, just trying to get through the day. It seems like, you know, I think all around the state, you know, we have a transmission rate. You know, it seems to be lower than ever, around 1. Hospital cases are way down, and unless I'm mistaken, I think there's 0 evidence of transmission actually in the schools. You know, I know we get the notices, you know, every time that there is a positive case, and I understand that, and we have to quarantine all the kids that have come in contact with them, but if there's no transmission within the schools, it seems to me that that's the safest place for the kids to be. And obviously, I think that's where they're going to be getting the best education, which is what we expect. You know, there's examples all around us of districts going 5 full days. I know we've talked about it on, you know, the last number of meetings, you know, even within our own district with the parochial schools. And I know the comment is, well, they don't have to follow the same guidelines because they're not part of the public education system. But they're just guidelines. They're not laws. And, you know, I know one of the things that was mentioned on the last call that we had was that the parochial schools, there was a picture sent around where there's desks and it's taped off. And, you know, the comment was, well, it's not 6 feet apart. But according to the guidelines, it's not required that it has to be 6 feet apart if there's masks and, you know, proper barriers and things of that nature. So it seems that we're just kind of hiding behind these guidelines and not putting our best foot forward as a district to give these kids the proper education that they deserve. And that as parents and, you know, educators that we should expect. And the last thing I wanted to say is that I put an Oprah request in the beginning of February to get an accurate number of what our budget is for this entire district compared to what the actual spending is to date. And the thing I was told in the response was that the Department of Education does not maintain records of actual spending, which kind of boggled my mind. And I can't imagine that that is the case, that nobody is keeping track of what the district is actually spending. I know, you know, Mr. Mara goes through the budget numbers and the spending. So that kind of boggled my mind. I just wanted to kind of get some clarity on, is there any record of what has actually been spent within this district? Thank you.
So, Mr. Beggendorf, we were in receipt of your request, or of your notification that you submitted a Oprah request. And we advised you that we had not received it. We asked you for a copy of your request, and you never forwarded it to us. You gave us a reference number that wasn't one of our reference numbers. You sent me an email just in the last few days, again, saying that you've received information on our budget from someone, not us. Again, we ask you for a copy of the OPA request, but what we decided on Friday was that on next Tuesday, to give you the latest information, the board would be approving the latest secretary's report, which will contain the budget information and the expenditures to date. I didn't want to send you something that's already two or 3 months old. So once the board sees it and approves it, you should have it in your hands next Wednesday or Thursday electronically.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bergendorf. Okay, seeing no other hands raised, I am going to close the hearing of the residents portion of the meeting. Stop sharing, and I'll put the other screen. Share that one. Okay, here we are. One thing that I do want to say is, because Mr. Bergendorf mentioned that referenced me with regard to, being upset, saying that the students are still getting an education. So, just want to clarify, and I'll have to go back and see my exact words. I don't remember, but, I don't believe that anyone has ever claimed that this is a perfect situation and that we are not doing everything we can to get back. I think there had been comments that they weren't getting an education at all. So I think that my comment was probably more in reference to that. I mean, they are getting an education, they're learning. The teachers are doing, as you said, the teachers are doing, they're working above and beyond. So the students are getting an education, and we all know, again, not one person up here on this panel thinks that this is a perfect situation. We all know that. That goes without say. We've said that time and time again. So, and we are working every day. The administration is doing everything they can to work towards getting the students back in school 5 days a week. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, but we have to follow the guidelines. We're a public entity, we're a public school. We have rules that we have to follow. And that is the way it is. We don't have a choice we can't say, they don't know what they're talking about. We think this is the right way to do it. We don't have that luxury as a public school system. So I just wanted to clarify that, of course, I know that the perfect situation is to have them back in school. I'm 100% aware of that. So I apologize if that was misconstrued in any way. So that being said, would anyone else like to speak? Do we have any old business? Let's go to old business. Anybody? How about new business?
I just briefly would. I just want to briefly touch on Mr. Bergendorf's statement. And there are two terms in education that have always bothered me. One is FAPE, free and appropriate public education. And then the other one is meaningful progress. They're very subjective, trash terms, in my opinion. And if you want to go to Trenton and help change that, feel free to email me, and I'm sure we can get some other parents to make the language that's used to go.
Thank you, Mrs. Burns. Anyone else? Anything new business? Anybody else have anything? Oh, Mr. Weber.
Yeah. Okay, the gentleman who spoke previously, I think his frustration lies in that, as you pointed out, Mr. Carroll, you know, where it's an old new ball game for all the districts in the state. The question is, I think a number of parents are rightfully or wrongly questioning our district strides compared to other districts around us with similar student populations who seem to be having more school more sooner in greater quantities than we have. Now, the question I have specifically, though, is for administration specifically, at the end of the 2019 and 20 school year, were the state tests that normally would have taken place, were they suspended or were not taken?
There was no standardized testing for the end of the 2019-2020 school year in the spring.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Jim.
There was no standardized testing, Mr. Weber, in spring of 2020.
Okay. And based on what the way the governor is leaning now, we probably won't see those again this year. So that means, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They have only been postponed until April 5th. We haven't received guidance from the state as to whether or not the standardized assessments will be done in the spring.
All right. I personally think that it's critical that it does get done, given how much collective compounded school learning, in-place learning that we've lost in that period of time. And the very difficult job that teachers have had to perform trying to compensate, running, you know, two classes simultaneously, the one in front of them and the one at home. My biggest concern is if we don't have some form of assessment, even if the state waives our obligation to do it, if we don't know where we are, how do we know where we're going to, what we need to get to where we want to be? If these kids, assuming that this year is, you know, we're not going to see 5 days or whatever the case may be by the end of June. Teachers, by the way, with the vaccines, if they get that appointment in the first 2 weeks, I hope Mr. Cedino's optimism is correct and we can all get it by the end of March. But if they take the 2 vaccine thing, that's a minimum of a 6-week process from whenever they get the appointment. So if they don't get the appointment until April 15th, that puts you into June, the end of May, the beginning of June. So that in itself, you know, causes another problem. But the big concern that I have is if we don't know where these kids are exactly, how are we ever going to develop a plan to determine how we're going to mediate that before they graduate from, you know, before 2 or 3 school years passes, because some of these kids may be lost for an awful long time, and that's just the risk we can't afford. I'm done.
Okay. I had a tough time hearing you, so
Yeah, a lot of the volume, I think, with Mr. Weber's, you know, goes in and out. I'm not sure if it's a technical issue or what have you, but just, you know, and I'm only going based upon what I heard. And I've also heard from other members of the public talking about the standardized assessment. And I mean, there's a misinformation about what the standardized assessment measures, and it does. And I couldn't hear what Mr. Weber's totally saying, so I'm not saying if this applies to him, but other parents I've talked to and heard comments from in other public forums is that the standardized assessment from the state doesn't measure a student comparing that child from year to year of their personal growth. The standardized assessment administered by the state does a comparison of the child with like peers in similar schools. So as comparison of themselves against peers and not their own personal growths or losses of information from 3rd grade to 4th grade, just to how does that child in the 4th grade compare to other 4th graders in similar school type settings. So that's just a clarification that's making.
Can you hear me better now?
That much better right there.
Okay. My concern is not so much comparing ourselves to other schools. My concern is that if they took a standard assessment, if somebody's in now the 3rd grade and they were in the 1st grade the last time the test was submitted to them, or they took it, it would have been 2 years ago. Or better still, that the district or somebody at the state level do a test to see how proficient these kids are and how much time they've lost. Because if you don't know that, I don't know how we're ever going to make a plan to mediate it.
We do benchmark assessments for our students all throughout the years. We don't rely upon the state for that assessment. Again, our benchmark assessments are an assessment of the student and their growth percentiles. The state standardized test is what you said you don't want. The state standardized test is a comparison of, and again, it doesn't start in the first or second grade, it starts in the third grade. So it doesn't do a comparison of the student of their own growth from going to third grade to fourth grade. It does a comparison of that student as compared to other fourth graders in like schools across the state.
Well, again, short of having some positive way to have the parents have confidence in the fact that, look, I think it's fairly accurate to say that most kids are going to be off their game because of the, if not all of them, because of the lack of time in the classroom, the difficulties with the virtual learning process, especially for the early grades in the elementary school, and that you don't want to find out 3 years later that when we start comparing ourselves. Now, we may be comparing ourselves 3 years from now to kids who had the same disadvantage. So you're going to be comparing apples to apples. But is there a standard that we're going to measure our students by to find out how much learning has been lost during this pandemic? And that's what concerns me most. We have to have a way to do that. And if we don't, we need to find a way to do that. So, in my opinion, so that we can get kids back on track, so that they can graduate the high school system to be a competitive adult in the world.
And I agree with you. And just reiterating that we do have that data. We used our own data benchmark assessments for, and that's what drives our tiered interventions program that's recognized as one of the best in the state. So that data is what we use because, we don't have reliable data coming from the state for that type of student growth information.
And I just want to add that, as Mr. Cittadino said, our intervention program is recognized by the state. We have experts in all of our elementary schools and middle schools that are working with data teams that incorporate the social emotional learning component as well as the academic component. And there are specific assessments that are already in place and utilized by the experts on those teams to identify student strengths and weaknesses and to target the intervention that they need. We have a system. We've been using this system for years, and we will need to apply it to more students and increase those resources moving forward.
And it's
and
good
we're planning for that.
Right. That was the topic of the conversation with the CARES program that we talked about earlier, and using those same assessments will be part of the data that's used as part of the rubric for the CARES program, which is guided and aimed at addressing some of those needs of students coming out of this pandemic. And lucky for us, the person who is also heading our tiered interventions program is also heading the CARES program.
Well,
And in addition, those programs, we don't intend for those services and programs to end with this school year, but we are already planning to continue those programs in the fall.
So I assume this program was ongoing last year and the year before as well?
Not the CARES, no.
No, the program that you have to do your self-evaluation.
Yes.
The intervention, yes.
Yes.
So I'm sure it would be comforting to the public to see how you compare at the end of this school year, 2021 school year, with where you were last year and the year before, and share that with the public.
I believe the concern is that it's not cumulative data, that we do personalized student data, and we couldn't put out personalized student data to the public.
No, I understand that, Dave. I'm just asking for a summary of what the overall district situation is.
What I'll do is, in a future meeting, I'll have Dr. Calandra give a presentation of that those assessment protocols, so the board has a better understanding of how we utilize it and how we use it as a tool to not only measure student interventions, but also to prescribe them.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
That would be great. Thanks, Dave. Does anybody else have anything?
Yes.
Mr. Giordano.
Yes. So as of today, about 25% of New Jersey residents have gotten their first vaccination. So including those people that don't need it, or maybe they don't want to get it, that would add it to about 50% of residents. So we are nearing the end of this, and we should be heading to 5 days of school in person for every person as soon as possible. Other states have already opened things up and trying to bring their societies back to normal. So that's what we should be doing, and I hope we can do it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay. Again, Mr. Giordano, we are working towards that. That's the goal. And, and it's all, the vaccine is coming out. Governor Murphy has put the teachers up on the list for getting the vaccine. So we are definitely going to be using that and moving forward. Anybody else? Okay, I have one thing. So I was invited by Dr. Sasso to just kind of see, because they started back in last week. And he invited me to just come in and just see what was going on in the schools, also with permission from Mr. Cittadino. And, he kind of just walked me around, introduced me to a few people. And I just, and again, it goes to the, Mr. Bergdorf's, comment, regarding to me, and I kind of get like, I kind of took that a little, because I just had it was such a great feeling walking in that school and seeing the students, not a lot of students, the appropriate amount of students, and just seeing the smiles, not on their faces because I couldn't see their faces because they had a mask on, but I could see the smiles in their eyes. Their eyes were smiling. And you could hear the laughter and just every single person between whether it be the teacher, the staff, the teacher, the students, everybody was so thrilled to be back and just so over the top. I walked into auto shop and he was amazing. He had his I don't know, whatever, not an iPad, but it was a tablet. And he was teaching, the kids in the thing, and he was talking to the kids on the tablet, and like a well-oiled machine. It was just amazing. And it was so wonderful to see. I left there today with such a great feeling of positivity, because I know we're going to get back. We are going to do this, and everybody, not one single person is not on board with doing whatever it is they can to make it work to get all these kids back in the school. Everybody wants it, everybody. And it was just, I just wanted to share that. It was just such a wonderful experience. And of course, I have to share my little humor. There was a little there's a cardboard cutout of Dr. Sasso. And it was cute. They put a little St. Patty's Day hat on him, and it was very cute. He's like the little office mascot when the actual Dr. Sasso is running around, because he's taking care of both GNC and the main building now. So I just wanted to share that as a truly positive thing. It was just so wonderful, and also speaking to people that I know that work in the elementary school systems, and the different people, how happy they all are to be back in the schools, and seeing the students, seeing their little faces in the elementary level. It's just, they're all just so thrilled. So I just wanted to, I guess, end on a positive note. And again, I apologize if, anyone misconstrued anything I said, with regard to, they're getting an education. I certainly never meant it that way. But we are getting back in the school. So that's a wonderful thing. So we will forge on. And that is all I have to say. And I think at this time, I believe we are going into executive session.
Yes.
Mr. Parton, after that long-winded speech of mine. Okay, so I guess we need a motion to go into executive session. Do you need to tell us why first,
Yeah.
before the motion or after?
You need a motion for exec session for attorney-client privilege and personnel matters regarding the budget and the reopening process.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Callie will move.
Callie, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Weber, any discussion? All right, roll call, Mr. Mara.
Ms. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Callie,
Yes.
Mr. DePrima, Mr. DePrima,
Yes.
Ms. Ellis Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Giordano,
Yes.
Mr. Silikowski,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going into executive session at 8:55 PM.
Okay, so we will,
Also, Mr. Kara, just to clarify for the members of the public who are on this call, we'll just be back to adjourn. There'll be no other action taken once the board comes out of executive session.
okay, so no other action will be taken.
Okay.
Good night.